The Lost Letters of Liberty, a historical mystery based on true events, by Tashrif Othoy. Prologue. The Letter That Shouldn't Exist. Washington, D.C., 2023. Rain slapped against the marble steps of the Library of Congress as historian Dr. Eleanor Shaw clutched an envelope sealed with dark red wax. The wax bore a sigil, a serpent coiled around a lantern, a symbol she'd only seen in an obscure Revolutionary War document that officially did not exist. The letter had been mailed anonymously. No return address, no name. Inside, a single sheet of paper in faded brown ink. To the future bearer of this knowledge, the truth of America's founding lies not in independence, but in a secret pact of 12 men whose names were never written. Seek the 13th room beneath Philadelphia. The serpent still guards the light. Eleanor stared at the date written at the bottom. July 4th, 1776. It was signed not by Jefferson, not by Franklin, but by George Washington himself. Yet the signature was wrong. The ink was old, the paper authentic, but the handwriting, the loops, the slant, was slightly different, as if written by a man pretending to be Washington. She ran a trembling hand across the letter. If real, this could rewrite American history. Chapter 1. The Shadow Beneath Independence. Philadelphia, 1776. The city was alive with tension. Muskets gleamed on the streets, whispers filled the taverns, and the air smelled of ink, sweat, and rebellion. In a dimly lit room above a printing press, 12 men gathered, not in the Continental Congress, but apart from it. They called themselves the Lantern Society. Benjamin Franklin stood at the head of the table, spectacles glinting in candlelight. Beside him, a young Thomas Jefferson scribbled furiously, but there was a 13th chair, empty. "He'll arrive when the time demands," Franklin said quietly. "Until then, we speak in shadows." They weren't meeting to sign a declaration. They were planning something older, a ritual of unity drawn from a secret order Franklin had studied during his years in London's Hellfire Club. "Gentlemen," Franklin began, "if we are to birth a new nation, we must first bind it with something stronger than words, an oath that no man may break." Jefferson hesitated. "An oath bound by what, sir?" Franklin smiled faintly. "By light, the eternal lantern, the symbol of reason and power." Outside, a bell tolled, and in the darkness beneath the meeting hall, the serpent sigil was carved into the stone. Chapter 2. 2 centuries later. Eleanor's research consumed her. She compared the mysterious letter's fibers with known revolutionary paper samples, rag pulp, linen threads, even traces of 18th century oak gall ink. Every test said the same. It was genuine. But something didn't add up. The letter mentioned the 13th room beneath Philadelphia, a place no record existed of. Until, one night, Buried in the architectural archives of Independence Hall, she found an original British blueprint from 1551. Hidden beneath the labeled cellars, faint and almost erased, was an unlabeled chamber, room XIII. Her heart raced. Someone had built a hidden vault beneath the cradle of American liberty. Chapter 3. The Guardian of Secrets. When Eleanor arrived in Philadelphia, she met Professor James Callahan, an expert in Masonic architecture. He laughed when she showed him the letter, until he saw the seal. "Where did you get this?" he whispered. "Anonymous delivery." "Then someone knows more than they should." Callahan led her through Independence Hall's old catacombs. He said, "Most people think the founders were simple men of politics. They were also Masons, Rosicrucians, men of symbols. The serpent around the lantern, that was a sigil of illumination through secrecy." They reached a bricked wall. Callahan brushed off centuries of dust and found something engraved, the same serpent sigil, glowing faintly under the beam. "Room XIII," he murmured. Behind the wall, they uncovered an iron door. Inside lay a circular chamber lined with ancient parchment and relics, wax seals, blood-stained quills, and a massive bronze lantern still intact. On a pedestal sat another letter, sealed and untouched. The wax bore the initials T.J. Eleanor opened it with shaking hands. "To the keeper of the lantern, should tyranny rise again, light the flame once more. Beneath this nation's promise lies a debt unpaid, to the people who were erased to build it." Her breath caught. The people erased? Could Jefferson have meant enslaved Africans, indigenous nations, or something else? Callahan found a final parchment behind the lantern, one that listed 13 names. 12 were familiar: Washington, Adams, Franklin. The 13th was smudged, but the first letters were clear: A.H. Alexander Hamilton? No, his name was already there. Then who? Eleanor looked closer under UV light. Slowly, the faded name reappeared. A.H. Abraham Hill, agent of the Crown. A British spy. Chapter 5. The Double Game. 1776. Abraham Hill, posing as a loyalist merchant, was Franklin's secret courier. Unknowns to both sides, he played a dangerous double game, feeding intelligence to the British while secretly believing in the colonial cause. When the Lantern Society formed, Hill was the 13th man, its unseen hand. But in his private diary, later suppressed by British archives, Hill wrote, "Franklin's light burns too bright. They speak of liberty while building a power no king could match. I fear the serpent will one day devour its own tail." Chapter 6. The Hidden War. Back in the present, Eleanor traced Hill's bloodline through generations. Shockingly, his descendants had vanished from public record, after 1865, the year of Lincoln's assassination. One of Hill's descendants had been present that night at Ford's Theater, and in the official police report, a small bronze lantern pin was found on the floor near Booth's escape route. Could it be, Eleanor whispered, that the Lantern Society survived the Revolution and interfered with every turning point of American history? If so, it meant one horrifying truth. The ideals of liberty had been protected not by transparency, but by centuries of secret manipulation. Chapter 7. The Flame Awakens. When the government learned of Eleanor's discovery, her funding was abruptly cut. The archive files she had accessed were temporarily restricted. Her university email was locked. That night, her apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen except the letter. A message had been left on her desk, handwritten on fresh parchment. The flame has been relit. Do not seek what was meant to stay buried. Then the Lantern Society. As she read the words, a faint glow appeared outside her window. A single lantern, burning in the rain. Fire to be continued.
Part 2. Echoes Beneath the Bell. Chapter 8. The Man Who Built Shadows. Philadelphia, 1776. Benjamin Franklin's workshop glowed with the amber pulse of candlelight. Coils of copper wire, magnifying lenses, and half-finished kites crowded the room like frozen lightning. Outside, soldiers drilled in the square, their chants wixing with the sharp tap of hammers from the new Liberty Bell Tower. Franklin bent over a sheet of vellum. Across it spread a complex design, a lantern encased within 13 interlocking circles. At the center, a small inscription in Latin. Lux et veritas vincunt per tenebras. Light and truth shall triumph through darkness. A knock rattled the door. Abraham Hill stepped inside, rain glistening on his coat. They've signed it. Jefferson, Adams, all of them. Tomorrow they'll announce independence. Franklin did not look up. Good. Then our true work begins. Hill frowned. You mean your Lantern Society? Our Lantern Society, Franklin corrected gently. You are the 13th light, Abraham. Without you, the circle is broken. Hill hesitated. He'd seen what Franklin's experiments could do. Electric sparks that leapt like living things, powders that ignited without fire. Yet what unnerved him most was Franklin's conviction that reason itself could be weaponized. A nation born of secrecy cannot remain pure, Hill warned. Purity is a myth. Survival is not. From a locked cabinet, Franklin drew a small crystal prism. It refracted the candle's flame into red, white, and blue shards that danced along the walls. Someday, our children will think this nation was built on ideals alone. Let them. We will give them the myth and guard the truth. Hill stared at the prism's fractured light and felt, for the first time, genuine fear. Chapter 9. An Oath in Blood and Light. That night, The 12 men gathered again in the underground hall. Hill stood at the edge, half ready to flee, yet unable to resist witnessing history. Franklin lifted the bronze lantern. Within it burned not a candle, but a small glowing vial, liquid phosphorus, stolen from an alchemist in London. By the light that never dies, we bind ourselves to the protection of this republic, to defend it against kings, mobs, and the madness of our own descendants. Each man pricked his thumb and pressed it to the serpent sigil carved into the table. When Hill's turn came, he hesitated. The flame inside the lantern pulsed brighter, almost alive. "Swear it," Jefferson urged softly. "The nation needs unseen hands." Hill whispered the oath. As his blood touched the sigil, the vial flared, searing light filling the chamber. For a heartbeat, every man saw visions, maps of future wars, iron machines flying through the sky, a divided land bound again by light. Then darkness. Franklin's voice broke the silence. "It is done. The lantern is lit." Chapter 10. Modern Ghosts. 2023. Eleanor Shaw hadn't slept in 3 days. The stolen letter haunted her. The glow of the lantern outside her apartment had not returned, but sometimes she caught reflections, circles of light where none should be. Her phone buzzed with a private number text. "Stop digging, or you'll join the missing." She deleted it, grabbed her field bag, and boarded the early train back to D.C. At Union Station, Professor Callahan waited with a grim face and a folder stamped Smithsonian Restricted, Artifact number 1776L. "They confiscated your find, but I made copies first." Inside were photographs of the bronze lantern's inner casing. On its base, etched in microscopic script, were a set of coordinates. Latitude 38.895 degrees north, longitude 77.035 degrees west. Eleanor's eyes widened. That's the National Mall, directly beneath the Washington Monument?" Callahan nodded. "Either someone planted that later, or Franklin planned something none of us ever uncovered." Chapter 11. The Monument's Secret. Night cloaked the mall. Security patrols were sparse due to a thunderstorm sweeping in from Virginia. Eleanor and Callahan, posing as maintenance contractors, slipped through a service hatch leading to the monument's lower foundation, a maze of stone and steel. Water dripped from pipes as they descended. At the lowest chamber, a marble block bore the same serpent and lantern sigil. Callahan pressed his hand against it. "Franklin's masons built this. They left marks even modern restorations missed." He rotated the stone's edges like a puzzle piece. A hiss of ancient hydraulics filled the air as a hidden panel slid open, revealing a narrow shaft descending into darkness. They climbed down rusted rungs until the beam of their flashlight struck metal. Another lantern, identical to the one in Philadelphia, but this one unlit. Eleanor brushed away dust and found a plate beneath it engraved, "Light me only when the Republic falters." Her pulse raced. Franklin built more than a symbol. He built a failsafe. Chapter 12. The Cipher of 1777. Back at her hotel, Eleanor uploaded high-resolution scans of the lantern's engravings. Hidden within the metalwork, she noticed irregular spacing, dots and dashes. Morse code, invented decades after Franklin's death. When she translated it, the message read, "To whomever finds the flame, know this, the Lantern Society lives still. We are within your government, your banks, your schools. We are the balance between order and chaos." She stared at the screen. They anticipated the future form of communication before it existed. Callahan shook his head. Or someone updated it. Maybe the society adapted through generations, embedding messages in their own relics. Then it never ended. It evolved. Eleanor whispered. Chapter 13. Echoes from the Civil War. Digging deeper into digital archives, Eleanor discovered a collection of unclassified Confederate correspondence. One letter, addressed to President Jefferson Davis in 1833, bore the serpent seal. "The flame must not die, even in defeat. The light serves all sides, lest the nation collapse entirely." Signed, The Lantern. Eleanor realized the society had infiltrated both the Union and the Confederacy, manipulating events to ensure the country's survival at any cost. Callahan exhaled. They didn't fight for victory. They fought for balance. Chapter 14. The Disappearance of Callahan. 2 nights later, Callahan vanished. His hotel room door was ajar, suitcase open, coffee still warm. Only one thing remained on the desk: the serpent lantern pin. Security footage showed him leaving the lobby with 2 maintenance uniforms, faces obscured. The car they entered was never found. Eleanor knew what that meant. The Lantern Society had found them first. Chapter 15. The Archive in Code. Determined to continue alone, she accessed the hidden server Callahan once mentioned, an encrypted archive maintained by a circle of rogue historians. Within it lay fragments of a 1777 diary written by Franklin himself. "The light burns low, the circle fractures. Hill has fled with the cipher. I fear his conscience will undo all we have built." Hill's escape, Eleanor learned, coincided with a secret British mission lost at sea, the ship Mercy of London. Its wreck had never been found. She cross-referenced modern sonar data from NOAA and located a wreck in the Delaware Bay matching its size. Expedition records showed it carried crates labeled Lantern Instruments. She booked the next Marine survey vessel. Chapter 16. The Sea of Mercy. The dive was brutal. Cold water, limited visibility, current strong enough to pull a diver sideways. At 40 meters depth, Eleanor's light fell upon a bronze chest sealed with pitch. Inside were glass tubes,